Thank you, and thank you for attending this talk, basically known as Lesson Learned from 6 Lapsus Incident Responses. And I'm going to introduce the both of us. We are Santiago and Gabriela. We are based in Argentina, and for those who don't know, that country is basically the country where the Pope and Messi comes from. So we work in a threat intel team. This is the first attendance and talk of Santiago. It is my 7th attendance and 5th presentation, so I want to thank the conference for that. And we are just part of a broader team in which we have different skill sets. Santiago is more focused on cloud security, myself more focused on malware analysis, and we work both together with other people in collaboration to work in incident responses, so we do pretty interesting stuff. And before continuing, we wanted to make a special mention of our leader and mentor, Luciano Martins, that was supposed to come to this conference, but he's currently battling breast cancer. So we wanted to dedicate this presentation to him and also remind you to go to the doctor and take care of your health. So this is the agenda we have prepared for this presentation. We are first going to talk about details of Lapsus, so we are all in the same page. Then Santiago is going to talk about the things, interesting things that we observed during the incidents, and then we are going to finish with some lesson learned or takeaways from the things that we observed. So, who is Lapsus? So Lapsus is a threat actor that has been known since mid-2021 and has been active since then. And this group is suspected to be from Brazil, but there are also, so public knowledge, there are also people that were related to, England. And this group is basically doing stuff for the money. They hack to have a revenue out of that, but they also just watch the world burn because there are some incidents that they didn't even ask for anything, but they just released the data of the affected companies. So that is why we use the Joker theme. Basically, that is a phrase that you can see in a Batman movie. And the suspects behind this threat actor, as I mentioned, there were some people that were suspected in England. There is in particular one person that goes by the nickname White or Bridge Base that we are going to talk more about in the next slide. And there were also people, not only at Asia, but more people that were investigated in Brazil. So those are the main countries of where these people are supposedly belong to. And a couple of things we can highlight about this threat actor is that, at the beginning, people maybe consider they were a ransomware gang, but that is not the case. They just extort victims. They either exfiltrate files or they copy repositories, and they don't use ransomware. And also they rely a lot on in Telegram. They have their communications using that platform. We observe at least 3 channels. I think there is a little more, but basically they had a channel for like a newsfeed in which they brag a lot, and I can see that is something else that is the ego is something that also can be noticed in this group. And there is another Telegram that is still up. There is another, or there was another one that it was more for communicating with them. And another one that was to hire insiders that is also down currently. So regarding the doxing, so on November 2021, this person that goes by the nickname White bought a website from 2 administrators of that website that is called doxbin.com. And basically, this white person didn't do a good job with that website. The website started to lose reputation, so people started to become angry about that. So these two former administrators decided to buy it back from him for a fragment the money they paid. And then in January 2022, these two people decided to just release, to tax this person, to release information, not only personal, where the person lived and where the name and photos, but also it mentioned things related to this person, such as email accounts, social media accounts, and also, more importantly for us, that domain that you see there, leaks.direct, that will become relevant in the next slide, and also Santiago is going to talk more later. So we wanted to do a certain a sort of timeline because there are a lot of news in the wild, and we wanted to put some colors also. So and we didn't want to shame any affected organization, so we only mentioned the industry and the country an affected organization belong to. So we use some colors. So orange represents incidents that didn't make the public eye and were handled by us. Green, public incidents. Blue, events that happen in Telegram. In red, we put some mention, some event that these people maybe brag about them in Telegram, but we didn't find any evidence to support that, so we have to don't worry much about it. And then in yellow, we put some events related to this group, right? So in the wild, you will see that the first related activity to this group was found in June, but we actually had a client that got affected in May, and we could do that relation because we found that email that you cannot see maybe there, but it's me@leaks.direct, that, if you remember, is the same domain that was related to this user White. So we believe that at least the activities of this group started back in May 2021, and since then they have targeted different industries, financial, consumer, TMT mostly, also public sector a lot. And we found one of our clients that belonged to the energy and resources industry also. And they started to affect victims. And in December, they decided, or it was when the Telegram accounts started to appear, and they use those telegrams to leak data. They share archive files, and then try to brag about it. And then in January 2022, as I mentioned before, one person was doxxed. And in March, there was a lot of activity of this group. They posted in the Telegram channel that we were looking for insiders in really particular companies. They were named. And also in that month was when people started to get caught in England, and we observed a lot of activity. Then in August, we observed that the people were getting investigated in Brazil. And then in September, so there were two major companies that were affected and were attributed to Lapsus. And well, last week there was a suspect that was caught. So this is like the summary of what we know so far about this threat. And here, don't worry, we are not going to go through all the TTPs. We just wanted to put Maitre because we love Maitre. And keep in mind that this week, they said that in October they were going to release Maitre 12, so keep tuned, stay tuned. So basically what we wanted to represent here, don't worry, we will share the slides. We wanted to represent that Some people maybe think that this threat actor is more like a script kiddie because it finds maybe credentials in repositories, but we believe that it is not the case, because what we observe in the incidents is that at least these guys are much more than that. They have a lot of knowledge. They know what they do. They know some things that well, Santiago will show us next.
Thanks. We're not going to talk about whatever is public. So we are not going to talk about MFA fatigue, SIM swapping, and buying credentials and that stuff. But what we have seen twice is, for example, the execution of a red line malware and infostealer that they used to get Chrome credentials. With those credentials, they were able to access internal company system, like outer data, outer credentials vaults. That was really important for them because that allows them to pivot laterally and to elevate privileges in different attacks. As you can see here, if you don't harden enough those kind of services, it can be really hard because most companies share, or most employees share, their Chrome browser and sessions between company workstations and personal workstations. So with that, they can get access to company credentials, compromising employee workstations. Then, in another opportunity, what we saw is that they compromised and exposed Microsoft Exchange server only to get access to a specific email address. That email address was the one that managed the AWS root user. For you that don't know, the AWS root user is like every root user, so they were able to take over the whole AWS account with that. But we also noticed in 5 of those 6 incidents that they were having a specific objectives with those AWS accounts that we are going to show after. The AWS root account takeover is something that is really easy to do if the account is not hardened properly, because it's only a matter of asking for the email reset password, as you can see here, and they were able to achieve this without being detected. Another way that they were able to compromise another client was through an exposed Jenkins box. For you that don't know, Jenkins is a tool that is used by DevOps teams to handle CI/CD pipelines. It's a really well-used tool, but if not hardened properly, it can be super dangerous because it used to be used to access AWS to create infrastructure, so it can have it usually has admin access over AWS. It happens the same when you have credentials exposed in GitHub repositories. In another case, we found that too. Or if they were able to get IAM user credentials that were stored in a computer in a workstation that are hard-coded and are in plain text. All this vector of compromise, we have seen all these vector of compromise, and they were always trying to find a way to get to the AWS account and get an account takeover, right? When they accessed to another AWS account, the first thing they did was to retrieve all the secrets and all the data they could from S3 buckets. An S3 bucket is like a data store, an object level store, and they used a tool that's called S3 browser that is not known as a malicious tool, but we saw that in several times. Then they tried to access GitHub and GitLab code repositories to leak that data. And they use ngrok and FileZilla to exfiltrate that along with Dropbox. Once they did that, they tried, in most of the cases, to execute a nuke against the AWS account. The nuke is a way of wiping the account on its whole, like destroying servers, databases, storage, everything that is supporting the company infrastructure. So we're going to do a demo of that. This is a trick that we can only do once because we're going to nuke an AWS account. So let's hope and let's pray to the demo gods that it works. So first, what I wanted to show you, I don't know if you can see it really well, but well, okay. Credentials in AWS are hard-coded in this path if they are not hardened properly. Is .aws/credentials. As you can see, if the company it didn't apply a well security practice, you are going to see this like that. So without knowing much about AWS, they were able to retrieve credentials from the Jenkins box. And then, how many of you have seen an AWS account? Well, I'm going to show you that it's not necessary to detonate an account. So with these credentials, they move to a tool that's called Street Browser. This one. I have the credentials here. Once they were able to leak the credentials, they open a Street Browser. So they set the access key, the secret access key, and the tool, what it does is start showing you all the S3 buckets that you have. For example, these are examples of data stores that we created for this purpose. Logs in AWS are stored in S3 too. So with this, they are able to go to the AWS logs, for example, and delete them without much trouble. They are also able to create a new AWS user for them to gain persistence in the account. So in some opportunities, what we saw is that they were able to create a service user that is not detected by default in the companies, right? Once they did this, they executed this command that is AWS nuke, right? As you can see, it's AWS nuke, a config file that is a basic YAML file. They set the credentials from the AWS account. And what the tool is going to do is to start enumerating the resources that it's going to destroy. In this case, we were going to destroy the S3 buckets only, but what we're going to do is a full destroy of all the environment. So I will change it to the full path. And now you are going to see all the resources that it's going to destroy. IAM users, EC2 servers, everything, right? This is like it's telling you what it's going to destroy. In the meanwhile testing, I'm going to show you the AWS console. So, for example, these are some servers that we have created for this purpose. These are some S3 buckets. These are some IAM users that are core AWS components. So if I execute it here, it's going to start trying to destroy everything. It's going to take some time, so I think we're going to continue with the presentation, and then we can show you how the account doesn't have anything anymore. So, from a blue team perspective, the important thing is how can we detect this behavior, right? So as you can see here, the S3 browser tool leaves a trail in the user agent So you can detect in AWS logs that somebody is trying to access your infrastructure using that tool. So if you see that in your logs, it's a sign that there is somebody that is trying to enumerate your account. The AWS nuke is harder because it's a Go script. So it doesn't leave a trail like that. So it's important to understand the behavior of what the tool does in the enumeration phase in order to create a detection use case properly. Lastly, what we found in one of the incidents, we were analyzing a workstation, and we found an open Dropbox session. So we were able to see what other clients this group had hacked and which data had exfiltrated. As you can see there, the registration was created upon the email of admin.leaks.direct, that is the email that Gabi mentioned before. And there were a lot of hacks from different countries, especially in Latin America. We also found an invoice from the payment of the premium account of Dropbox that was aligned with a credit card. So we were able to do some research in that matter.
So
okay.
To wrap it up, we wanted to mention some takeaway. Basically, this is really aligned with what we have been listening these days and just in the talk that was before this one. So attribution, of course, is hard, and but besides all the complications that we can have, it is good to at least try to identify TTPs, because what we learn is that in incident response, that can help us to maybe anticipate some of the moves. We can anticipate what these people may be doing next, so that is helpful for us to have in advance. Then, well, threat intelligence is key during incident response, and fortunately for us, so our leader is both the leader of the incident response team and the threat intel team. So both the teams work together in all the incidents, and that is something that it must be done, because we need to really work in collaboration and try to help each other into defeating these guys. And then, of course, take care of the weakest link that are humans. We heard a lot about FA fatigue lately, and we always try to put the best in our products, in your products, and that is really cool. But we also try to have to educate users and try to be more empathetic and help people. And as Santiago was just showing, cloud is great, but you need to be able to configure it properly, because if not, well, nasty things can happen, and your business can suffer a lot. And lastly, unpredictable threat actors can be dangerous. So these guys, they didn't show like a sort of a specific pattern. They just do whatever they wanted. Sometimes they ask for money, sometimes they didn't. So, and that kind of behavior can be really difficult for us to keep track on and well, to help our clients. So well, keep that in mind. And lastly, we wanted to share with you some interesting things that we observed in incidents that are not related to Lapsus, but regarding the unpredictability of threat actors. Sometimes, in order to achieve their goals, they do like really odd things. And in this case, in an incident that involved ransomware, one of our clients was left a phone message that went like this.
Tenés un mensaje guardado recibido de 11513954440 hoy 14 horas 11 minutos.
Hello, Mr. Freeman. I hope you do speak English because this message is very important. My name is Michael. and we attacked your company 2 days ago, and now we have huge volume of your company's confidential data. It's encrypted on your company servers and downloaded to our servers. We have your partners and clients' data, financial, accounting data, and much more. We want negotiations. How to start negotiations? Take your IT specialist and go to your server and find any folder you can open.
So we just wanted to give you a little glance of interesting things that can happen in an incident, because maybe we are not that used to observe that kind of stuff. And these are the people that we are against. Remember that there are also people behind all these attacks.
And also, it's not funny to see this when you're trying to access your company infrastructure. This is the account all wiped out. So it's like you lose everything and you are not able to restore it. And I think that's it.
That's it.
Okay, we have time for a couple of questions. I see there is one gentleman over here. Hold on. Yeah.
Thanks for a great presentation. Can you share if, like the screen you are seeing there, no access, so would they also be able to provide you with a recovery of that data? Was that the data that was exfiltrated?
Yes, they first exfiltrate the data, and they destroy everything, the data including in that what they destroyed, right? So if you don't have an isolated backup in another media, you will lose it anyways. You will lose it in that matter, right?
So for the recovery part of the stuff they exfiltrated, would they provide that tool? Do you know?
No, because they don't ask for ransom normally, right? It's like they could because they have the data, but we haven't seen that they are contacting our clients in order to return the data. What they say is that in one case, I think it was, they like trying to talk with them in order to not to leak that data or to not to appear in their Telegram channel, but normally they only leak the data and in one shot without notice.
Thanks.
Something funny that we saw also is that they made a pool, for example, of which client data do you want us to leak, and they set 3 clients, and the people voted in order to see what client they wanted the data. But the funny thing is that act pushed the other clients to say that they were hacked, besides they didn't leak the data, right?
Okay, any other questions? Actually, I have one. Don't you think that a lot of the Lapsus attacks are not contributing to what I see the human problem? Because you have the MFA fatigue attack and a couple of other things, social engineering stuff to get inside it. Is that right, or am I wrong?
The thing is that they take the opportunity, right? If they see a vulnerable box, they go through there. The important thing of the human link is that because the main focus was to buy those credentials or to bypass those logins or to take advantages of the weak remote access tools, right? They are not stuck with one. That's why what's super important, the TTPs that Gabi showed, is like, and the problem with attribution that a lot of TTPs are overlapping. Mm-hmm. So it's part of it. It's like maybe it's normal to have in mind having a patching protocol or to harden the what we are exposing online, but we are not still fully aware of what we should do regarding the people that is working with us.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Let's thank together for the nice presentation.
Thank you.